Welcome to the Top Dog Mindset Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of running a successful dog training business. I'm your host, Kevin, joined by my co-host, Angel. Together, we bring you expert insights, inspiring stories, and practical tips. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we're here to provide you with the necessary information to build a thriving dog training company. So relax, join us with a cup of coffee as we explore the Top Dog Mindset Podcast. All right, welcome back, guys. We got another awesome episode here for you today. Angel and I are going to be talking about something that I've heard from a couple different trainers that they're struggling with, and just something that I thought could be very helpful for you guys. So that's the idea. So this is the idea of how to stay booked out year round and how to kind of prepare yourself for inevitable slowdowns in the business when you know that, hey, maybe the fall is my slow time where I live, and kind of just getting prepared for that and how you can hopefully, ideally avoid that altogether. So before we get into that, Angel, how you doing today?
I'm doing good.
What's going on for you?
Dragging my feet a little bit today. I'm tired, but we're getting through it.
How are you handling the Zoom meltdown of 2025?
I almost started melting down
Okay.
personally because I thought that it was my computer. You know how old and almost ancient my computer is. So as
Yeah.
soon as I saw that this was happening, I just assumed it was my computer.
Yeah.
Within like 30 seconds, I'm already on Best Buy and like trying to figure out which computer I'm going to get next. And then
Yeah.
come to find out it was like an entire like server outage
Yeah.
thing. So that was good. Good news in my case, because now I don't have to, go splurge on a new computer last
Yeah.
minute, but I'll need one
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll need another one soon. But this was making me think about it. And like a couple years ago, there was a Facebook outage, and I just started our Facebook group at that point. And it's just fascinating how things like that, something as small as that, can like really throw you off. Like the whole like TikTok going down a couple months ago, like people were like
Yeah.
panicked about that, It just makes
Yeah.
you realize like how reliant we are on certain things.
Yeah. Now, personally, with the TikTok thing, even though it was a planned thing, I was excited for that. And I was a little disappointed that it came back right away.
Really? Okay, well, that's interesting. Wait, so
Yeah.
why do you feel that way?
Well, I will say I do have the TikTok app on my phone. I'll still occasionally scroll because it's there. But I think
Hmm.
that's the whole problem is like people are so addicted to
Yeah.
TikTok. And that's why I was happy that it was leaving.
Yeah.
Because like it's like, I mean, even out in public, I'm in like a waiting room somewhere. I walk by people and I can see that everyone is literally on TikTok. It's
That's
like
interesting.
I feel like it's one thing to be on like Facebook or something like that,
Yeah.
because that like you're able to like talk with like family and friends, and there's so many different reasons to be on Facebook, but TikTok,
Yeah.
I feel like it's just like
What, pure degeneracy?
yeah, like brain rot central. And like I
Yeah.
said, I do it,
Yeah.
but I do it because it's there and because I don't have self-control.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. So I've actually never, I don't know if this is something to be proud of or not. I mean, we have a TikTok account where we post content and stuff like that, but
Hmm.
I've never personally downloaded TikTok for like my own personal enjoyment. I just felt like, I don't know, it was one more thing to have to do. And I'm very susceptible to stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I'm kind of self-aware in that regard. Like if I just have another app on my phone that I can just mindlessly scroll through, I might just never do anything again in my life other than that?
Yeah. I'll often like delete it and
Hmm.
then like a few months later re-download it and delete it. So it's like a cycle, but I will say I've gotten better about just like not going on there and scrolling like I do Facebook or something like
Yeah.
that, but I will use it like essentially like how people use like Google. Sometimes I'll
Hmm.
go to TikTok to like look up reviews on something,
Yeah.
or if there's a business that has a TikTok account, I'll go and look at the videos that they have on there. So I would say it's more so that versus just like endless scrolling.
Do you shit post on there as well? Like, do you just put like a bunch of memes up and stuff like that on like your other platforms? Because I know you'll sometimes do that on like Facebook.
What do you mean, like on other people's videos?
No, I'm shit posting is like a Reddit term, I think. I'm sure somebody who's watching this video has heard that. I didn't make that up, but it's more just like, like posting, I think I'm using that right. Like just posting a bunch of like memes and stuff like that, like flooding people's like timeline with just like, random memes and stuff.
Oh, no, not really. I mean,
Yeah.
I've like made videos on there before.
Yeah. Wait, you
But
have TikToks out there?
I have made TikTok videos before, but like the ones that I've made are more so like sentimental like
Okay.
video and photo slideshows
Yeah.
of like my kids or stuff like that
Yeah.
versus like funny stuff where I'm like setting a phone up in front of me and like doing TikTok dances. No,
That's
I'm not
something
one
that
of
I just can't
those.
do. I can't go
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely not. And I always think about I read this, somebody posted this on Twitter one time, or X now, that they were like, no, I don't have TikTok. I'm an adult. I just watch TikToks on YouTube like 3 weeks after they come out. And I'm like, that's pretty much what I'm doing. Like I'm
Yeah.
taking this moral stance. Like I don't go on TikTok, but it's like I know I'm seeing all the same content anyway. It's just like fed to you on every platform now?
Yeah, pretty much. Might just be a little bit late, but it'll
Yeah.
get to you somehow.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into things. So why this was actually your idea that I
Hmm.
claimed credit for before. I don't know if you noticed that, but
Yeah, shame
so
on you.
why did you choose this one for today? Like, why did you feel like this was an applicable topic, and like, why did you feel like this was a good thing for us to cover?
Well, I feel like it's a good time frame to cover it because like we're getting into the warmer months and generally this is not a slow time for people. So I feel
Yep.
like if you can just get ahead of things and learn how to get ahead of like the slower seasons when it comes up to like the holidays and stuff like that. Um, because I'll generally like have these conversations with clients, but it's usually like when you're in the slow part of the
Yes.
season
Yep.
versus being like months ahead of it and kind of like prepping for that time frame.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, but I guess the first thing before we like really get into it that I want to start off by saying is like well, first of all, you have to like really understand like the seasonal trends in your area, whatever
Hmm.
those might be from, like whether it's the holidays or we have an election going on or any of like the crazy stuff that like really affects that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I will say that I think it's important to recognize when it's an actual slow season versus being in a slower time of your business and just attributing it to being a slow season, if that makes sense, versus like, like, oh, I changed something up in my sales process and now all of a sudden it's causing me to close a lot less sales. So it's really like a mindset thing too, because just because you have, you know, X amount of consults and you're struggling with selling all of them doesn't mean that it's automatically a slow season. So I think that's something important to touch on too, is like really
Yeah.
recognize what's an actual slow season versus it being like something just within your business that's causing things to be slow and like where adjustments can be made there.
Yeah, 100%. And I couldn't agree with that more. I think at the end of the day, if if it's easy to diagnose a situation in your business and just be like, I'm slow, and so I'm just going to attribute that to the economy or the time of year. And everybody
Hmm.
does this, like myself included. Sometimes it's really hard to take a look at your business and go like, maybe something changed here. Maybe there's a new competitor that came in, or maybe it's something that I'm doing differently or something like that, and I need to adjust course here in my business.
Hmm.
So I think that's first and foremost a really good point. So I think being able to have the ability to self diagnose in your business and be able to say like, am I okay? So what happened? Was I marketing and I stopped getting leads altogether? Well, that probably is something that needs to be changed in the marketing, right? Am I getting leads that are coming in from the marketing and I no longer do in-person consultations and I move them to phone consultations and now I'm seeing a massive slowdown? That's a sales process issue, right?
Yeah.
Sales process issue. I just totally messed that up, but that's okay.
Sales process.
But anyway, that's one possible thing, right? The other thing is it could legitimately be a okay, I'm gonna have to start over this
Try
entire point.
again.
It could legitimately be a there could be something going on in the economy or something like that. It could be
Yeah.
seasonality that's going on here, right? And so what that could look like is a good example of this is like tax time. We do see this with a lot of people where they start hearing around, March and stuff like that. Oh, I need to wait for my taxes to come back. So that can be a little bit tricky. And when people like that, you do need to stay on top of them and just be willing to follow up. So I think that's a big part of it as well, is if people are not willing to buy today, can you stay on top of them enough and be organized enough in your business to know how to re-engage those people in a month or two and not just say like, oh, they didn't buy, they were tire kickers, they weren't serious leads. I'm not gonna give it any of my effort, you know?
Yeah, and not to go down like a totally different rabbit hole, but this is something that we have set up in Alfred. So like the CRM that we're using for our clients is, and I talk to like new clients about this each time they're onboarding with that software, is the difference between like won versus lost versus re-engaged, the difference
Yes.
between, or like what it would look like to actually put someone in the lost category versus someone that you can re-engage with again, even if it's like 6 months down the road.
Yeah.
Because just because you get a no doesn't mean like you completely write them off. Now, if it's someone who's like, you know, I don't know, I have a part-time job and I literally make like $9 an hour and little stuff like that where you can like really
Shout out
pinpoint.
if you're making $9 an hour. I mean, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to your boss and be like, what the F, dude?
Maybe that was an absurd number. I don't know. I was trying to make it sound
My first
absurd.
job I ever got was $9 an hour. Okay. So like I don't get to stand on like my high horse here, but like, yeah, that was
Was it
back
really?
in, yeah, I was washing dishes and that was good pay at the time. It was like 2006, 2007. I was a dishwasher and I got paid $9 an hour. And I was happy. I was really happy with that.
My first job was 7.25 an hour, and I felt like a
Wow.
freaking baller. And it was
Yeah.
part-time.
What was your first job?
I was a hostess and a busser.
Oh, okay.
I had the worst boss ever,
Really worse than the current one?
by far. I'm like, wait, who's my current one?
What? Wait,
Um,
why was he? Let's talk about this. I don't want to totally derail this conversation but now we got to know. So what was so horrible about this boss?
Okay, so I was like, how old was I? I want to say I was 14 years old.
Hmm.
And whatever the age is when you're able to like legally start working, where you have to get like a work permit or something like
Yeah.
that to show like I can legally work for you.
Yeah.
Um, but he honestly was just like an old like Italian asshole. It was at an
Hmm.
Italian restaurant, so that's why he
Okay.
was Italian. But like when he would like tell me to do something, or if there was something that maybe I missed,
Hmm.
he like there were multiple times where he would like grab my arm and like lead me over to this area. Like I don't know if
Ooh,
he thought
yeah.
because I was a child that he could do that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he did that often.
Damn, that's not
And
cool.
yeah, and the last time that he did it, I like super dramatically like whipped my arm away from him and told him not to effing touch me.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, like oh, was acting
Oh,
like
so
it
he
was no big
apologized.
deal. Yeah, he was like caught off guard that I got so upset by it.
Yeah, I mean, rightfully so. Don't put your hands on me,
Yeah. But yeah, that was that. That was my first job.
Wait, did you quit that day or did you stick around there?
No, I stuck around because I didn't have to deal with him that often. And I
Yeah.
worked with a lot of women
Hmm.
who kind of like took me under their wing.
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of helped like the whole situation. But
Yeah.
yeah.
My first job I had, I mean, I did like little things here and there for neighbors and like gigs or whatever, cleaning someone's like garage out for them or something like that.
Hmm.
That was my first butt business that totally fell flat. I just didn't have a client acquisition system at that point. Like I didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, my mom was like, "Why don't you go hand out like, some flyers around the neighborhood and stuff like that." And yeah, but anyway, I digress. So, but my first real job when I was a dishwasher, I I'll never forget the day I quit. They really were kind of like not, it was more like verbal, like mistreatment, I would say. Like they just, there was zero appreciation there, and it just started to feel like I'm really like a means to an end and a workhorse, and just, yeah, zero appreciation. And I never worked on weekdays because I was in high school. I didn't even have a car. Like my parents had to bring me to work. And out of the blue, they called me and like left me a voicemail at like 1 in the afternoon saying they needed me to come into work for that day. And I went to high school an hour away. I needed to take a train to school every single day. So I never saw the voicemail, nor could I get there. You know what I mean? And I went in on for my shift on Saturday, and they were like met me out of the parking lot, my boss, and started like tearing into me and being like, you were supposed to be here, we told you were supposed to come in, you needed to cover this shift. And I told them like, dude, I'm like 16, like what are you talking about? I couldn't come in.
Yeah,
And sure enough, like the guy was like, you're really on thin ice here. And I was like, dude, if I'm on thin ice, I freaking quit, like see you later. And I've never, like till this day, never had as much satisfaction as I did in that moment, like being able to tell my boss who I really was not a fan of that I quit. So that was my
that's
first
awesome.
story. Yeah. Yeah. So that was a
That's
good time.
great. Yeah.
But anyway, so this was a kind of a little bit of a side topic here. So where did we leave off? We were talking about staying booked out and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I was talking about re-engagement and I said I didn't want to get off on a whole like rabbit hole, but I'm going to just for like a split second is like helping people understand what a true like lost potential client is versus someone that you can re-engage with in,
Yes.
like I said, 6 months, 2 weeks, 8 months, whatever it is. So just because someone tells you no doesn't mean that like you should completely write them off. Obviously, it's all dependent on like why they're saying no. Again,
Yeah.
if it's dependent on like their income, which even that, it's not always a no. People will figure it
Even if you're
out.
making $9 an hour.
Even if you're making $9 an hour, if you really want your dog trained, people will figure it out.
Yeah.
But like someone on like trying to think of examples. Like, can't, I don't know, a fixed income or like they end up getting rid of their dog. That's an obvious like loss. You can't reach out
Yeah.
to them again, to see how things are going because they don't have the dog.
Right.
But someone saying, I'm really interested in signing up. I just don't have the money right now. Even if
Yep.
they don't tell you, like, I'm going to save for it, they're
Yep.
interested. They just don't have the money right now.
Totally.
Maybe you go into like all of your financing options, you stay in touch, you offer like, offer them for them to come to like your free group class or something like that and reach
Yep.
out again in a couple of months and see how things are going. Or someone who
Totally.
like reaches out and they're like, hey, I want to get a puppy. I don't have it yet. What kind of programs do you offer? Reach out again in like 3 months and see if they got their new puppy and how things are going with the new puppy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't remember why I started talking about this. You said something about it.
That's okay.
Um,
I went off into my whole life story there until I
re
derailed us.
re-engaging people. But yeah, I was
Yeah.
just saying all that to say like that's something that we have built out like in the pipeline for our clients who use our Alfred system, which I think
Yeah.
is really helpful because I feel like people can write people off so
Yes.
quickly. Like the
Yeah.
second that you get a no, and I know it can be discouraging, but like if it helps, try to find it as something more of like encouraging. So that way it's like, oh, next month is usually my slower month. Now I have this list of people that I can, notify about that sale that I usually have during the month of May or whatever it is. So like this podcast is all about like trying to help people see things from a different mindset. So I just felt like that was important to touch on.
Yeah. I think that's really valuable. What I always think about is pipeline management is a real skill set that most people never really spend much time cultivating or even acquiring.
Yeah,
And what that really means is it is so easy in your business just to focus on the low hanging fruit and say, okay, there's no new lead today. I guess I don't have any real nurturing to do. I don't really have any sales to do or anything like that, right? But that's
mm-hmm.
the wrong way to look at it. The low hanging fruit, like, yeah, should you focus on, focus on the new leads that are coming in and try and do everything you can to nurture those as quickly as possible and do all the stuff we've talked about in other episodes, getting to people quickly, getting in front of them, of course, all that stuff. But it's not to say that you give up on people just because like they are not somebody who's actively communicating with you, right? So
Right.
as they say, the fortune is in the follow up. If you can really have something built out, even just a simple spreadsheet where you have client or a lead name, date that they first contacted you, what kind of dog they have, what they're looking for, and the reason that they didn't sign up.
Mm-hmm.
And that way you can adequately follow up with them, start to re-engage them, hop on a phone call with them. That's the type of thing that I've had people that I thought like literally were just totally fallen off and gone, and we're not ever going to sign up that end up turning into great clients just because I sent them the right message at the right time. And they were like, you know what? I'm actually ready to get going with this.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So just staying, in touch with people, re-engage with people, keeping uh a wait list of people that you can reach back out to, but
Yeah.
also getting into like the next thing I want to talk about is starting to like not only build out a wait list, but scheduling out ahead of time, getting those deposits ahead of time. This is
Yeah.
something that I've noticed too, is like when I mean, we do have a lot of our clients who book out months ahead of time. And there are also some who, like, when they get to that point where they're going to have to start telling people that, oh, I'm booked out a month, or oh, I'm booked out like 2 months or something like that, then it starts to kind of like hold them back from like selling a board and train. They end up like talking the client into something cheaper, like, oh, let's actually do one-on-one lessons instead so you can get started quicker. Which, if
Yeah.
the client wants to do that, totally fine, but I don't necessarily think it should be something that you are talking them into, like
Yeah.
downselling them. Or maybe, you're getting to a point of starting to book out and then people are like, well, now I need to hire someone.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's a tricky thing, because if you genuinely like need the help, hire someone. Otherwise, don't be scared away from having to book people out months in advance. And usually what I always tell people is it because they don't want to scare people away by being booked out that far, but you can offer like to start lessons
Yeah.
beforehand. If you're booking out 2 months in advance, I don't think it's going to hurt to offer to do 2 free lessons before the program starts. That's
No.
one lesson a month, and you're not necessarily starting the entire training process, but you're getting them started on important things that you would normally do in the beginning of a board and train. It's going to
Yeah.
help the board and train maybe go a little bit smoother, but also make the client feel like, okay, we're getting a start on something,
Yeah.
so that they don't feel like they're just kind of sitting around twiddling their thumbs waiting for the program to start. And I
Yeah.
think most importantly, so that people don't feel like, because they're already in such like an emotional and vulnerable state dealing with some of the issues that they're dealing with their dog. So when they hear they're going to have to wait a month or 2 months or whatever, doesn't feel great knowing like, okay, I'm gonna have to sit around and deal with my dog's shitty behavior for that much longer. But just paint the picture for them of like, once you leave your deposit, I am your trainer and we will get
Yeah.
started right away. Your board and train won't necessarily get started, but I'm going to be here for you. I'll come out, answer all the questions that we need to. We'll make some adjustments as far as like your daily routine in your home that might help. I'll give you some homework and stuff like that.
Yeah. Progress is the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
People feeling like they're actually advancing and that they're moving in a direction that they want to move in and moving in away from the direction that they no longer want to be in, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the main thing. The other thing I would say too is there's this tendency for people to feel this insecurity around I can't get somebody started right away. And I see this manifest in different ways in people businesses. Like, not to go off on a tangent about this, but people who don't have facilities, who don't do board and trains in their home, they've said stuff to me before, like, I feel like I can't compete because of I don't have a facility or and I just take dogs out of my home. You can use everything to your advantage, and it's all about how you sell it, right? So, first off, the greatest marketing in the world for a lot of businesses, nightclubs, restaurants is a line at the door, right? So not that you want to have this massive line out the door where people take 6 months to get people in for training because it does become bad customer service at a certain point. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing. But at the same time, it does kind of give people this vibe of like this person's busy, they have clients, like they're busy for a reason, right? That is the first thing. The other thing is it's all about how you frame it to people. Don't lead with it in your sales pitch. Don't lead with like, and by the way, I know you need help now, but we're really not going to be able to get you started for a month and a half. And I know it's a little bit stressful. Like, don't do all that, right? sell
Yeah.
them, and then once they're all in, we have people that literally sell it, get people to make a deposit and fill out the contract, and then they just talk about it normally, like, okay, so here are the available start dates, right?
Hmm.
And leave it up to the client to decide whether or not that's like even a bummer to them or not. If you make them feel like it's a bummer and say like, I wish I could get you started sooner, of course they're going to feel that way. But if you're just like,
Yeah.
hey, our first start date is June 1st, we can get you started then. If they really have a hard time with that, like, oh man, we can't get started sooner, you could say, you know what? Let me see if I can squeeze you guys in. It makes
Hmm.
them feel like you're doing them a favor. And where there's a will, there's a way. But don't feel like you need to lead with this in your sales process. That's an entire different part of your business. That's like operations and managing clients and training and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with your sales process. Sell them,
Hmm.
get them committed, and then work out those other details later. But I will say this. The initial point of this video is how to handle slow times in your business. I think the essence of what you were saying before, Angel, and what we really want to get to on this call is, this is going to sound very oversimplified, but it really is the truth. Don't put yourself in a position where you are ever slow, right? So what that means is like, plan on booking out your business. So that way, if you can book out 30, 60 days, you can weather a slow month, right? Because you
Yeah.
go from being booked out 60, 90 days or something like that to all of a sudden, yeah, you have a slow month and you go from 60 days booked out to 30 days or 15 days booked out. And then all of a sudden, once it picks up again, you're in a good spot. But you never had to go from like client to client and signing up, needing a new client every single day or every single week. And when you hit that slowdown of a month, it feels like this could be the end of your business.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to touch back on what you were just saying about like not leading with the kind of like wording it where it's like, oh, I wish I could help you now, but I'm
Yeah.
booked out until blah blah blah.
Yep.
I think that's perfect advice. And like the way that I used to do it is pretty much similar. And I would go through the whole talking about the program and really showing them like the value and what they're going to be paying for and all that kind of stuff. And really, sometimes before I even got like an actual yes, to where they're kind of just like sorting things out between each other, I don't ask a whole lot of questions. I pretty much just like pick up my phone and I'm like, all right, let me look at my availability. So I can actually get you started on this date. And that's a couple weeks out. So we can just go ahead and get started with a lesson for now. Or if it's
Yeah.
further out, we'll just go ahead and get started with lessons. So I don't even word it to where it's like, oh, I'm booked out, 2 months. Is that too far for you?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
I'll have to check to see if whatever. It's just I go right into it. This is when we're going to get started, and this is what we're going to do beforehand to make sure that you can still get started on something. So it's like they
Yeah,
don't even have the chance to panic about having to wait or anything like that.
exactly. Yeah, that's
um
that's perfect.
yeah, so the next thing is kind of like a mix of things, so creating off-season offers but also talking about like discounts versus bonuses.
Okay.
And we talk about this a lot, or I've brought it up a lot in even other episodes where it's totally unrelated, as I always do.
What? That's
Discounts.
not, that doesn't sound right at all.
I always say I don't want to go down a rabbit hole and I proceed going down rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so discounts versus bonuses. And like we've again had, I think, a whole episode on this of like doing strategic discounts versus just like randomly throwing out a huge discount out of desperation. Like plan this stuff ahead.
Yeah.
If I think the holidays are a perfect um time frame to use as an example because that's often a slow time for everyone.
Hmm.
Obviously, being the holidays, people are already spending so much money on gifts and traveling, spending money on traveling, but also they're just not available for training or consults because they're traveling. So setting up something like that ahead of time where it's like a specialty program, or you have bonuses where if you sign up, if you start like running the sale, let's say in October, if you sign up or book your board and train for November and December, you get X amount of additional lessons added onto your board and train or something like that. Like making it very strategic, planning ahead for those things. Um, certain discounts, spring sales, and stuff like that. But
Mhm.
just saying all that to say, I think just like prepping for it ahead of time. So that way you don't get to a point where you feel like you're just scrambling to find something to offer people out of desperation is the key to just
100%.
staying ahead of it.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's about planning. So a couple different things. Like we were talking about before, understanding that there is a level of seasonality to your business and being aware that, hey, I got to book out before so that way I can be in a better position. And then yeah, exactly everything that you're talking about with discounts, use the time of year to your advantage, right? I think the best example is, something as simple as the 4th of July, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who really struggle with their dog on the 4th of July because of the fireworks and stuff like that, right? And obviously, that's not a simple fix like a 1 week board and train or 2 week board and train can fix that issue of, dog being like very fearful of like the fireworks and stuff like that. But the point is like you can use that as your unique selling proposition, right? So
Yeah.
you start marketing it and be like, does your dog struggle with X, Y, and Z because of this? I think you said this to me when you first started working with me, which I thought was always funny and spot on, and it was something like, creating an ad around like a dog grabbing the turkey leg off the table or something like that, right? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that can kind of like evoke a certain image for people. If my last year my dog was a real pain in the ass when everybody came over and he's jumping on people and people just don't like my dog, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't like people not liking my dog. So I don't want Thanksgiving to feel like that again. I don't want my dog to be another stressor on Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever it is. And so you can create these campaigns and marketing them on social media and stuff like that that speaks exactly about people's pain points and what they're going to be dealing with at that time of year. And just
Mm-hmm.
simply, this is why companies do this, like a back to school special, you know what I mean? A Halloween special, a Thanksgiving, whatever it may be. But use that stuff to your advantage instead of just being like the holidays or the slow time for me, you know, don't take everything at face value. There may be more to the story. We have people that have said this to us before, and they're like, the holidays are my slow time. And then we have other people who are like, the holidays are literally my busiest time because they're just really good at marketing offers for that time of year.
Yeah, exactly. And sorry, I had a sneeze, like it changed his mind. But this makes me think of a situation that I had talked about recently. It was kind of one of those situations where like they said it was slow. I can't remember what it was for. I want to say it was like summertime. They said like summertime is usually like slower for board and trains.
Yep.
And in my opinion, I feel like that should be a time where you get busier with board and trains.
Yeah.
But the reason why they said that is because they're like, I feel like it gets slower because like kids are home now and like parents are maybe at home with the kids more often. And so they want to be more involved in the dog's training. That could be true. Some people genuinely want to be the one like learning how to train their dog. So I'm not saying
Yep.
that. But the reason why I think it's a perfect time to really like push board and trains even more is because it's summertime. Kids are home. You don't have to worry about training the dogs, or you can go on your vacation while your dog is at a board and train. So it's like, just like what you said, some people say the holidays are their like a busier time for them versus others say it's a super slow time. It's all about how you look at it and what your idea is of like that time frame. And there's obviously like seasons where it is just genuinely going to be slow.
Hmm.
But as far as that kind of stuff, it's all about like how you're really looking at it and what you decide to push. Because I could
Yeah.
look at, summertime totally different than what that person
Exactly.
did.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think I think it's also really dependent on where you live in the US or in
Mm-hmm.
Canada and stuff like that, where or anywhere in the world where it really comes down to what the season looked like. Because I've talked to enough people now, and this is multifaceted. So the first thing is I've talked to a lot of people where they're like, this is my slow time, this is my busy time. And then I've talked to other
Mm-hmm.
people and they're like, you know how the fall gets, it gets really slow. And then if other people have been like, man, my busy time is the fall and the summer kills me. And so I've drawn a couple conclusions for that. I think that first and foremost, it matters
I
where you
play with
live.
them in the
But the
house.
second thing is like, I think you can
Who's
also take
first?
that at face value from other people that like this, I've heard that the summer is slow. I've heard that the
Yeah.
fall is slow. And you start projecting that onto your own business. And if you assume it's going to be slow, I don't mean to be all like, totally like woo woo with this, but like if you think that it's going to get slow, probably going to get slow, you know?
Yep.
And so you just start perceiving things differently. You're like, no one wants to buy and stuff like that. And it's like, we have people that literally thrive year round. I'm not saying their businesses are perfect and that they never have a slowdown and stuff like that, but my what I really want everybody to take away from this is like, do not take everything that everybody says with a grain of salt. Not everybody has the same business as you, not everybody lives in the same area as you, not everybody has the same offer as you. Not everybody, or nobody I should say, has your personality and your God-given gifts. And so at the end of the day, it's like, make your own draw your own conclusions, make your own assessments about your own business, and just don't take everything else that every other trainer says at face value.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, cool.
Yeah, well,
Anything else here?
nope, that's pretty much all I've got. I know we went in a lot of different directions with that, but I
Yeah.
think it was all really helpful and kind of like tied back into what we were really talking about.
Yeah. Hopefully my old boss Bob doesn't see this and now know that I hate him. Actually, I've moved on. I don't hate you, Bob. It's okay, man. We're good now. It's been like 15, 20 years.
I
All
don't
right,
know if
cool.
my
Listen, we
old
can wrap
boss
it
is
up
still
for.
around.
Wait, what's that?
I said, I don't know that my old boss is still around.
Yeah, we'll have to go drop in and see how he's doing. All right. Well, listen, we can wrap it up here for the day. But as always, we appreciate you guys watching this. If you like this, do me a favor, give us a thumbs up, tell a friend about it. And if there's anything that you'd like for us to cover, as always, just shoot us a message and we'll do our best to fit into the next episode. Appreciate you guys. See you in the
Bye,
next one.
guys.